Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining me. You're welcome to another exciting episode of IPcatchUP, and I'm excited to be with you this Friday. So every Friday we come together to talk about intellectual property and the different areas under intellectual property. So we get to discuss with the legal practitioners. We also get to discuss with those in the creative sector, those in the tech space, those in the startup space, several different areas, and we try to ensure that these people um, share the intersection between what they are doing and what we are doing. And so my guest, Xerona Duke Phillips, and I'm excited to be interviewing her today. Hi,
Hey, how are
Xerona.
you?
Thank you. So it's so good to be interviewing you today, and it's my pleasure. Um,
Thanks, it's mine too.
Sorry, I'm on the road. I actually just had my external defense today. Um,
Amazing.
yes, so I'm just done, and I'm just on the road. I actually thought everything would be done before now,
Mm.
but they ended up delaying us, and this is where I am. But I'm excited, and I remember when I put out your flyer, people were like, "Oh my God, are you serious? Are you serious?" And everybody like, "Okay, I have to be there. I have to be there." And I'm excited that I'm interviewing you today. Some even asked me that I should cut soap for them, but I don't know if you know what that means, but it's something that has been on like in the Nigerian space and all that. So I'm excited to be interviewing you today, and I actually read through your profile, and I see that you have a degree in film, and you also have for law, um, both bars, Nigerian bar and the New York bar, I think. Sorry, I would have actually read out your profile, but since I'm on the road, that's the reason why I'm paraphrasing your profile. But so I would like you to tell us a bit about yourself, how you got into the space, and your experience just in maybe 10 minutes. Just let us just get to
Okay.
know you and how you started.
Okay. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here. I'm really honored to have the invitation
Thank
and just, discuss this with a fellow lawyer. Um, just about me in general. I I studied law. I did law as a first degree in the United Kingdom and got my LLB there. Came back to Nigeria, did the Nigerian bar, did my NYSC, and then did the New York bar. The New York bar for me was sort of like, what's the next challenge, you know? Because the experience
you.
of the, sorry, this is my assistant for a moment. She's moving on. But what do you call it? Let me just raise my head again.
Get your first,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so essentially, um, after doing the Nigerian bar, you know what that whole experience was like. Um,
Yes.
it was interesting coming from like the UK to Nigeria. We had to do bar one, so getting acclimatized to everything was interesting to say the least. And after having passed
Yes.
that, I wanted to see what the other side of things were, especially since it was all common law. UK, Nigeria, America, it's all common
Yes.
law. And I'd always had this plan from doing the LLB and LLM and all of that. So I went and just did the New York bar. At first, it was like, let's just see what this is like. But by the time you start studying past that, and then I went on to do my LLM at the University of Pennsylvania, the Carey School of Law. After doing the LLM, I got a job in New York working for the law.
Get the internet. If you can find a place to park. Sorry about that. So I'll just send her an invite. I'm sure it's okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay,
At this point in time, I'm kind of used to the internet just
sorry.
being what it is. But yeah, so I did my LLM and then worked at Chadbourne at Park. Now, as a singer-songwriter, all of that. But I saw a really interesting correlation between project finance and the film industry because essentially both are projects and you only get your money, you only know if you're going to be profitable at the end when the project is released and or launched or whatever the case may be. And so I took the opportunity while in New York to attend the New York Film Academy, and I studied filmmaking there and then producing there and opened my eyes to hold like and now it's difficult for me to watch a film without seeing it,
Without
but
yes.
it kind of ruined the whole experience, but I love it. But yeah, then after that moved back to Nigeria and started working at the law firm. Now it's Denton's ACAS Law and the entertainment law and project finance departments. And it's just been really wonderful. We've worked with amazing people, like clients, and my colleagues at ACAS were amazing. So honored to have been able to learn so much from some really amazing people on both sides of the table. So I think that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. So you've actually said a lot, and I know that some some people focus like maybe just on the music side, while some focus on the film side and all that. But which is your core? Which is the beat of your heart? Which is the which of these areas do you love the most and why?
Oh gosh. A part of me loves that you've asked that question. A part of me is not so happy. um, because I always thought it would be music. I grew up in a musical household. From the very beginning, I was playing the saxophone, piano, singing, taking musical theater. So when I went into as an entertainment lawyer, I was like, it's going to be music. But
Yes.
after concentrating so much on film and understanding the back end of it, working on film deals and all of that, I've just discovered that as a lawyer, film is where I lean, I lean in. Um,
So it's good
I think that's where it is for me. Yes, I love
to
all of
know
them,
that
but film would be
it would be the okay. So
film law.
so I
Yeah.
got to interview someone that is in the film space, and I wanted to really understand the ownership issues when it comes to films. So we've heard a lot of things about someone rights, who is the owner and everything. And when you look at the Copyright Act, you see that they actually tell people to get do their assignments before they even have all those things, the films brought out and all. But from a professional, what would you say is the best way for a filmmaker to secure the ownership of their production?
From the very beginning, let it be clear who owns what. When you're getting your writers in, um, make sure that they sign. You have to get a writer's agreement with them, and in that writer's agreement, it has to clearly say who owns the intellectual property. If it's a situation where you're happy to share that copyright with them, let that be stated there. My advice is, as a filmmaker especially, you have some leeway in other aspects of the entertainment industry. But as a filmmaker, you have what's called chain of title. And that chain of title is really important, especially when you're trying to get financing for your film. The chain of title is a series of documents. It's extensive. It's a huge stack of documents. And all of them just go to show who owns the film, right? A financier isn't going to want to get interested or isn't going to want to get attached to a project when there's an element of liability just hanging in the air. You know, someone can come out of
Yes.
the woodwork and say, you owe me this, or, you know, I actually should be entitled to 30% of this project, you know, at the end of the day. So in Nigeria, the Copyright Act states that if the person who created the work is not the person who is going to own the work, it must be clearly stated in an agreement that the work was commissioned. You know, in the US, it's called work for hire. In Nigeria, it's commission. I put both languages in my contract so that there's no confusion whatsoever. Another thing we put in that clause is to say that if for any reason the writer, let's use the writer as an example, the writer at a later point in time needs to sign some more documents to complete this transfer of title, they agree that they will do that. You know, so this the writer's agreement will have all of this clearly stated out. So, but sometimes later on, you might have to sign a deed of assignment in order to register it with the Copyright Commission. You know, but you know later on, you don't want to have to start going back over this. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
sign this. We've already, you know, all of that. So that's essentially, you know, it.
Okay. So someone reached out to me. I think that was last month. He actually had a film that he had already made, and he so it was a collaborative work. He and someone else. So I think that the person contributed 200,000 to the movie. But by the time it was ready, that person sold the movie as a co-author. So what would be your advice to people in the film industry that do collaborative works and face this kind of issues?
Okay. The person, just so I understand it, he got involved in the project and he put money into it. Was he a writer
Someone
or he
else
did?
contributed. He was the person that shot like the movie and did everything about the movie.
Okay.
So he was supposed to own like the copyright in it solely, but someone else contributed 200,000 to it,
Okay.
and so the person was a co owner. Then the person went behind him to sell it.
This
So
person
what
who's the
he supposed
co-owner, the person
yes,
who
that
contributed
contributed
financially.
200,000, yes, went behind to sell it. So what should filmmakers do to ensure that things like this don't happen? And if it happens, what are the remedies that they have?
Hmm. A situation like that can be a bit tricky because if, well, first of all, if this person, all he did was contribute the money, but he didn't actually write the work, like write the script, direct all of that, all copyrights in the film, to be honest, are reserved with the person who did that, which is, you know, the one who was shunted out of the deal. So he
Yes.
actually, copyright speaking, the financier, the investor had no right to do that. Okay, so he doesn't have the interest to actually assign the work. Um, in other, you know, in another situation though, if they both contributed equally, whether it's equally or even like one person contributed 80%, the other person 20%, they're known as joint authors. You know, if you
Yes.
want to end up owning the whole thing, you have to, you know, there has to be an agreement stating that. There was one last thing I wanted to say though. On the financing side though, it's really important that from the very beginning and like at the very first thing when you're starting a film project is just get all your agreements in place, whether it's a non-disclosure agreement, whether it's, you know, writer's agreement, co-producers agreement, director, like before anyone puts anything down and anyone picks up a camera, you know, they have to have signed all of this. Co-producers, if they are, you know, because financiers typically they would have their own space. They have There are different kinds of financing agreements. So for this particular guy, if he's investing in getting the movie actually made, he would maybe take money off the back end, like money off the profits or the revenue that comes out in the end. And it should be stated in the agreement at what point in time he's entitled to recoup his money, right? At no point in time, unless they had an agreement giving him that right, at no point in time does he have the right to sell the film without the permission of the person who actually owns the film. He's just a financier, essentially. I hope that helps or that answers the question.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So I've been coming across a lot of people, and so I'll be giving you different scenarios. So I met someone else that was able to finish his film, and he called in a distributor to help him distribute the film, and the distributor ended up sending it to other places that he did not give the permission for it to be. So he was checking Amazon and he saw his film there already for sale. And he was checking like some other platforms and he saw his film there for sale. And he was saying, I did not give this person the permission to distribute my films to these places. So what are the things that someone can do after shooting a film and all that when it comes to distribution? What are the issues that you usually see, and what are the things that they can also do when it comes to distribution of movies or films?
Mm. Distribution is usually handled geographically, right? There are
Okay.
always exceptions to the rule, but typically speaking, if you have a distributor, you can say, I give you the exclusive right to distribute it in Africa or in West Africa or Sub-Saharan Africa, however you want to do it, or in Europe, and and you can specify exactly where their territory is. If they step out of that, they're out of bounds, they're liable, etc. With and of course that's just the general thing. You can say that I'm only giving you the rights to distribute to this particular media, whether it's cinema or whether it's digital or whatever the case may be. But it should be clearly assigned and listed as specifically as possible in an agreement. That's the first step for everything. In a situation where a distributor, whether you gave them any rights whatsoever, but they go outside of that boundary, they're liable at the end of the day. And if they collected any money from that, you can sue for that. All revenues that they made from a film that they distributed in a space where they do not have the authority to distribute, they need to, give that back to you. It's unfair for them. I mean, not unfair because it is what it is, but it's perhaps they won't like that because they obviously would have spent their money, their time, and all of that to push it through. But that's what these situations are for. You have to have permission to do that. Most times, the situations like that, they're distributing it with no intention of giving you any money whatsoever, because they're acting ultra vires. So so you sue for that. In a situation like that, depending on where the film was even distributed to, a place like Amazon, for instance, I would think that they have deep pockets. So they're definitely going to be joined in my lawsuit, because I'm looking for not just actual damages, I'm also looking for punitive damages. And the punitive damages are going to be wonderfully large in a situation like that. So let me make sure I can collect it from as many pockets as I can. But ultimately, I would expect like a company like Amazon, for instance, they are not going to allow that distributor, they're not going to entertain it unless the distributor is able to show that chain of title. Like I said before, they have to prove that they have the rights. For this very reason, they don't want someone to come out of the woodwork and say that, you've been stepping all over my copyrights or whatever the case may be.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, when I check in other countries, I think they have some form of insurance for people in the film industry. Do we have such thing here in Nigeria? Do we have insurance policies for um, uh, those in Nigeria where people in the film industry can say, okay, we want to insure this, we want to insure that?
I'd have to, I know that I've come across certain things, but I can't say for definite sure, based on my experience, how they work exactly, you know. But I do like uh, the film organizations, for instance, they do protect their people, especially like the actors, and whatnot. I wouldn't want to say definitively one way or another what exactly those measures are at this point in time. I mean, we're working towards it. It's still a fairly young industry, so everything
Yes.
we're moving in in the right direction for the most part.
Yes. Then something else that the filmmaker raised was trade unions, and so this would be like a twin question. Do we have trade unions for people in the film industry? And do we also have collective management organizations that help in the collection of royalties for performers in the industry? So I know that there was a treaty that was signed in Nigeria that was last year, January 1st. That was that's I've forgotten the name, but it's a treaty for performers. And WIPO held held a conference for it. That's for people in the film industry and those in the performing space and all that. So, what um, can you tell us more about trade unions and collective management organizations? Do we have it in Nigeria, or do they have to sign for it in foreign collective management organizations? Because in the music industry, we see that people in Nigeria, not everybody signs up to COSON or signs up to MCSN. Most of them go to BMI, CSAG,
ASCAP.
ASCAP. Yes. So, what would you say about the industry here in Nigeria for royalty collection?
Okay, on royalty collection everywhere, it's a bit what's the word? Uh, the word escapes me, so for lack of it, I'm just going to say question mark. Um, it, Everyone kind of goes back and forth over it. In general, how they work is you sign up for it. They are able to monitor the usage of your song, you know, how it's performed, whether in hotels, et cetera, et cetera. And then they collect the percentage. Sometimes they issue these, sorry, the word escapes me, my apologies, but blanket licensing. They, sorry, am I still here? My
Yes, yes, I
internet
can
went
hear
off
you
for a
now.
moment, so I got worried. Okay.
Okay, I heard the blanket license.
Okay.
Um,
So they can issue, yes, yes. Okay, that was where I was. So they can issue these blanket licenses, and that entitles the whoever it is that purchases this blanket license to all the music in that particular collecting society's repertoire. Now, the issues with it are how is the money then paid? Because these blanket licenses, first of all, how well is it percentage to each of these artists? But you know, if you have an artist who isn't necessarily as well, might have a song that's amazing and it's getting like play. Um, but generally speaking, people tend to pander towards the better known artists, right? You know, so sorry.
so I was having like a slight internet issue, so I missed you at some point.
Okay, I'm not sure if that was you. It might have been me. But yeah, no, I was just saying that it can be difficult sometimes to tell whether, an artist, especially a smaller artist, is getting what they actually do deserve. So those are the issues, and
Yes.
that's a global issue, not just in Nigeria. At the end of the day, it all comes down to monitoring, and how well these collecting societies are monitored. I know that there's a lot of discussion about it. There's some, legislation that's being considered and all of that to make sure that it's as good as possible. At this point in time, though, it's one of those you kind you might as well sign on to them, because you're definitely not going to go to every hotel and every restaurant and say, give me my money. So even if you're not getting the full amount, at least you're getting something that you wouldn't even get otherwise, possibly. And then the question of to um, sign on to an American one, or UK one, or to do a Nigerian one, they usually have these affiliations with themselves. So COSON, for instance, I believe was affiliated with ASCAP. And so if you were signed to ASCAP, then COSON would be doing the collection for you in Nigeria. And vice versa. If you're signed to COSON, then ASCAP would be doing the registration for you over there. At the end of the day, I'm not going to throw any shade on our people, because bottom line is that we're trying and we're working there. We're working our way.
Yeah.
These collecting societies, ASCAP was the very first one. They've been around since like the very early 1900s, if not like the late 1800s, if I'm correct. So they've had a lot of time to build it up. COSON, MCSN, they're a lot younger. But at the end of the day, it just depends on you. Of course, ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, they have a higher reach, because they've been
Yeah.
there longer. They have the connections, all of that. So really, it's just you as an artist, where are you most comfortable with? Of course, though, you do have to consider the fact that there are certain parameters that you have to meet in order to register with the foreign collecting societies. ASCAP, at some point in time, I have to double check if that's still the situation. You have to have what do you call it? A social security number, a U.S. social security number, in order to register. Some of the other ones don't have those requirements, but you just look at what works best for you and go accordingly.
Okay, thank you. So since we've moved into music, and I see that your firm too works a lot with people in the music space, what would you say is the major thing or the major complaint that people in the music space bring to your firm? So what's the major thing that is common from one artist to another that you see that they always have?
Like a major, like an issue.
Yes, yes, like a major
That
challenge that those in the music space has. That's like legal challenge
mm,
that
well,
you would. Okay,
no, sorry, finish.
no, like so for someone that's coming into the space, maybe someone who is an artist that is listening to this, what is it that you can say that is something that is a major issue that different people in the music space have actually had, and you would be advising them to actually take note of that issue
Mm,
before they get that mess or something?
mm-hmm. um the contract. If you're in a recording studio, uh what is this thing, you
Split
before you
sheets.
leave, split sheet, thank you. A split sheet, just have a template one already prepared, and then as you're walking um, out of the studio, just have everyone write down, your name, how, like, you songwriter, producer, whatever, and discuss amongst yourself, what percentage do I think I contributed to this? The next person, what percentage? Just have it there. Everyone sign it before anybody leaves. And that on its own is a contract, and that will govern your, the eventual contract that you're going to write and all of that. But if you have that from the get-go, it solves most of the problems, because everything usually comes back to, I didn't assign my royalty, and that's another thing actually. So the split sheet, and then that that royalty distribution. Most people say, oh, I didn't assign the royalty, or I'm entitled to this much publishing, etc. Make sure that it's very, very clear from the get-go exactly who is getting what, when they're getting it, how they're getting it, whatever those questions are. Just have it written down, have it all signed, and then you proceed. Because a lot of the time you make a song, it's wonderful, especially when you're listening to it in a recording studio. The music is pounding, the bass is blowing. Most times you think your song is amazing, right? Sometimes the song is not good, it doesn't go anywhere. But sometimes the song explodes, and you can't always predict when that is going to happen, because there are a bunch of factors that can determine that. But when it does happen, you never want to be caught out, because that's when everyone starts coming out of the woodwork saying, oh, I should actually be getting this. I'm sure this song, like maybe you're the artist, oh, like this song is doing so well, I'm sure you're making millions right now, pay me my money, But if you have the contract, you say, listen, I paid you already, so you're not entitled to anything, or we already have decided how we're going to share this money, so we're sticking to that, whatever the case may be. But yes, that's usually the issue.
Okay, so some of the things that you mentioned publishing. So I'd like you to even tell the audience what is publishing and what is a master right. So we hear about my masters, own your masters, and then we also hear about publishing. So what is publishing, and what is the whole thing about owning your masters?
Okay. With music, you have two different types of copyright. You have the composition and you have the recording. The recording is what we know as the master's rights, right? That can be owned by the studio, the record label, or it can be owned by the artist. Usually in Nigeria, it tends to be owned by the artist, but it depends on what the situation may be. The composition, on the other hand, is owned by the composers, the writer, the producer. So with publishing is, trying to think how best to explain publishing.
Publishing, okay,
So publishing goes to the composition, right? For the most part, the composition royalty. And with that, you have to, I'm trying to
sorry for the distraction. I just got to the home and the office, so that's
no worries at all. Yes, so with publishing then, you have sorry, I lost my train of thought for a moment. You have to, a lot of times you may assign your publishing. Some people do, some people don't. Similarly to the collecting societies, you have like these organizations that handle publishing. And what these publishers do is essentially shop your music to artists, if you're a songwriter, or they may shop it to record labels, they may shop it to streaming services and all of that. They're the ones who push your music and make sure that it moves and it's heard. And of course, in exchange for that, they take a percentage, right? So you want, when you're deciding on publishing in the agreement, you'll say you need to decide who owns the publishing, or if you have a publisher, are they taking your publishing, or are you keeping the whole the whole thing? So let me go back to the copyrights in the composition, right? Automatically that it's 100% that's on the table, but between the songwriter and the producer, it can be split 50-50. If there are more writers, and it can get muddled up even more, but for the most part, let's say 50-50. Now if I'm a songwriter and I have a publisher, most likely I'm splitting that 50% with the publisher. So I'm getting 25%, my publisher is getting 25%, right? So when you come
Yes.
down to the agreement, as a songwriter, I'm only entering this with 25%, right? Um, but
Yes.
the artist is also going to want to think about their own publishing as well, because of performance rights. It can get a bit convoluted, um, but everyone who's essentially involved in this project is going to want to know exactly what percentage they are going to be entitled to, and how much they're going to get. And so all of that has to be clearly stated in the agreement. Um, does that make sense at all? I'm
Yeah, it makes a
trying to
lot of
explain
sense.
it in
So,
a
when I was also trying to read about
yeah.
publishing, masters, and all that, I had to sit down for a long time to understand it. And by the time you understand it, you discover that it's so easy. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
100%, 50 for the songwriter, 50 for the record label, 25 for the songwriter,
Yeah.
25 for the publisher.
Yeah.
And then, so as a songwriter or the composer, what what you have is the half of it, and then the publisher has the other part. So if you
Yes.
are looking at ASCAP, they actually do it like 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're using BMI, they use 200%. So they'll give this person 100, this person 100, then you divide it
Mm-hmm.
for you for yourself and the
Mm-hmm.
publisher and all that. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's something that people in the music space
Mm-hmm.
have to understand,
Mm-hmm.
because it will actually help a lot, a lot, a lot. And I've seen a lot of people that have this issue, especially producers. So we have
Mm-hmm.
people that produce songs for people and all that, and they just pay them a one-time fee. And by the time the song blows, then they're like, "Oh my God, I was like the producer of this song. Now it's a hit, and I don't have anything about it." So what would be
Mm-hmm.
your advice to producers? Because I have advice I give to producers, but I want to ask you, what is your advice to producers that um, take a one-time fee and later the song is a hit?
Don't do it again. That would be my advice. First time bitten, learn your lesson and don't do it again. I, it was the culture here, for a long time in the music industry, that because at the end of the day, we our royalty system, the payouts, all of that, it's very, very young. It's a new concept that is just starting to, gain some momentum and all of that. So for producers, oftentimes, and writers as well, bottom line is you want to eat. Let me at least get paid for this thing. So give me my one-time fee, and then whatever else happens. And so and for them, then it's a volume thing. Let me produce as many songs as possible. Let me write as many songs as possible so I can make my money that way. But now you have this opportunity um, to have various streams of income that can last. So you do the song now, and as the years go by, you're still making money.
Yeah.
It worked before, that whole avenue, because to be honest, there wasn't really a way for you to make money from royalties.
Yeah.
Royalties right now, quite frankly, it's still growing. Like there's some songs that are up there, with the digital streaming, for instance. The There's some songs that, if they're how it works is, the number of times your song is streamed, you get paid a percentage and all of that to every single person who's involved in that project, according to like the split sheets and the agreement, who owns what, or who's entitled to how much in publishing and mechanical royalties and all of that. But essentially, they they now have this opportunity to make a large amount of money, depending on how well the song does and how well they negotiate for themselves. Going forward, at the end of the day, it all comes down to how much bargaining power you have, how much negotiating power you have. There are some artists that will tell you, absolutely not. I'm not giving you any publishing. I'm not giving you any royalties. You take your money and like that's it. Thank you for your services. And it is what it is. You just have to decide for yourself. Is this okay? am I comfortable with this, or do I want to push for more? On a branding marketing standpoint, you may, especially as your career grows, you may want to make a decision and stick with it. If you are definitely, if you want to put yourself in the, uh, with the likes of the producers and writers who, are, going global and doing all of that, you need to stand your ground and say, listen, this is what I'm entitled to. This is what I'm holding out for, and you just go like that. At the end of the day, the entertainment industry is small, so you can't say with one artist I'll take a payday. With another artist, I'm going to insist on royalties. Because once that artist realizes that you took a payday, it'll make it
Yeah.
more difficult for you to negotiate then. So at a
Mm.
certain point in time, you'll have to make a decision. But when you're starting out, you make your money how you can, but it's definitely something that you need to start thinking about sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I totally agree. And something I usually tell those that I work with is if it's possible to still take something and still have the back end, it's good. So you can say maybe I charge 500, but because I need the money, I'll take half and then I'll use the other half to take something from the back end.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also something that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to ask a final question. So I know that your law firm is a very big law firm and everything, but for someone who is here and is saying, "Oh, I want to work with her," so are you open to people that are just coming, or are you just for those that are already known? So how is your
Mm-hmm.
practice like? Are you open to everyone in the entertainment space, or you're just open to a particular set of people?
Okay, well, Denton Saycast, I'm actually not with Denton Saycast anymore. I left very, very recently, but they are very, very open. They're very inclusive to all artists, to all entertainers, to all people in the creative industry, essentially. Um, so it's not a matter of, oh, have you blown? Or, are you this particular label or production company or whatever the case may be? It's who are you? What are you capable of? And let's talk to you. Let's have a conversation. Let's see where you're going and let's make things happen. That way, at the end of the day, let's just have a conversation first and then go from there.
Yeah, so thank you for that. One of the things that I receive from people, they're like, legal services are so expensive. So, what's your advice to people who say that getting a legal representation is expensive?
One of my colleagues like put it the best way. Um, we had at the time they were a potential client. Now they are a client of the firms, and they were having a conversation, and he was saying, how most people, especially entertainers,
Yeah,
of course, deservedly so, are iffy about legal work, and she asked the person like, is this you don't there's a way she put it, it was perfect. I'm sorry. My apologies that I don't remember it because it's wonderful. But essentially, the question was you want to get on board with a lawyer when you don't have a problem, because 100% the fees are a lot cheaper than when you do
yeah,
have a problem. And of
yeah,
course, if you get on board with a lawyer before you have a problem or when everything is smooth sailing, we will guide you through so that you don't have a problem. Because
of course.
the problem is, one, expensive for you in legal fees, but also expensive for you in business, administration, like all the list is endless. And so if you can get a lawyer as quickly as possible, just have one in the bank. Denson's ACAS, they're amazing. If you want like a full service law firm, you're covered with everything. Not just the entertainment aspect, but any area of your business, they will sort you out. So I definitely would recommend it. Um, it's very negotiable. Um, and if you're whoever, whether it's a law firm you're looking for, it's an individual attorney or whatnot, it's just always good to have someone on your side who you can call and ask for advice, and just guide you essentially through through your business. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I actually have some other questions that I would have loved to ask you, and it has to do with those in the visual art space and all that. So I don't really know like your experience in that field, but maybe I'll leave that for today because I just got to the office and my internet is low and everything is low, and I don't want us to start answering the question and maybe it just goes off. But I'm excited. I actually said yes, and I'm sorry that I had to be on the road throughout. The list for
No.
external defense just came out day before yesterday, so I had to go and defend. And I was just praying that I was going to be done before 2, and I was happy that I was able to defend and everything. So I'm excited, and I'm hoping that as people watch this, they would actually learn from it and they would reach out to you. And it's very good to know that you're a woman and you're a mother and you're still doing what you can. And that's like kudos to you. Great job.
Thank
Well done.
you.
When I see someone that's a woman like me, I have a baby too. And I know that it's not easy at all. So thank you so much for pushing. And thank you so much for being there for your family and for being there for creatives around Nigeria and around the world. And we'll keep following you on your social media handle. So your social media handle is at Xerona. That's her social media handle. If you want to follow her, you can follow her to get tips on entertainment law and on every other thing that you need to get skilled in. So thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend,
You
Xerona.
too. Thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed our conversation,
Thank you.
sharing our ideas and all of that. And congratulations again on court. That was
Yeah,
amazing. And
thank
all the
you.
best. I love this program. I think it's so important that we have this. Education is everything, and with the arts and the creative industries, the information needs to go out because protection is key. When you have the knowledge, you can better protect yourself, defend yourself, negotiate for yourself. So thank you for doing this.
The things that you kept saying in almost all your answers had to do with contract, 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 contract.
Have
And
it
I'm
written down on paper.
hopeful that, yes, have it written down and get a lawyer to look through it, not just something that
Hmm.
you download and then you just go and sign it or something.
Hmm.
So thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah. Sorry, just one thing. There was this thing that was going, I'm sure you're aware, people saying that, oh, we don't actually need a lawyer. It's really easy. Download the paper off the internet or whatnot. You can do that at your peril. It's, because they're little, words and things that
Yeah.
lawyers or business people or whatnot can throw into the agreement. And if you don't know what to look out for, you can miss it, or you can get yourself into hot water that could have been avoided. So,
Mm.
just get a lawyer, just swallow it and get that
Just
lawyer.
just get a lawyer. Just get a lawyer. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Thank
It's
you
my
so much.
pleasure. Thank you.
Take care of
All right.
yourself.
Take care. My
Okay, bye.
regards to your family. Bye.
Thank you, and you too. Bye.